Hey, what's up, everybody? I just got back from seeing Super Troopers 2. Literally just walked in the door from seeing it here, opening night, very first showtime, and I'm excited to give you guys my impressions of the movie. So this is going to be kind of a series I'm trying to get into. I see so many movies nowadays, thanks to Movie Pass. It's not sponsored by them in any way, but definitely check out Movie Pass. It's an amazing service. So I decided I'm going to start coming in here, chiming out, and giving you guys my thoughts and feelings and opinions on the latest and greatest releases. So let's go ahead and hop into it with Super Troopers 2. I'll try not to drag this out. I know I have a tendency to ramble. So I am a big fan of the first movie. The first Super Troopers movie it's always been one of my favorite comedy movies. I think at this point it's kind of become a cult classic. So it's pretty fun, goofy, kind of stoner comedy. So Super Troopers 2 is by the same studio, Broken Lizard. It's got the same actors and same characters. This is actually a movie that was crowdfunded, if you didn't know. They actually asked on Indiegogo, I think, for about $2 million. And they ended up over doubling their goal and getting like 4.6 million, I believe is how much they ended up ultimately getting in the end. So definitely a big success story there. So did it pay off, especially if you're a fan of the first one? That's what we're going to talk about here. So there's two perspectives I think that you should keep in mind when you see this movie. The first is as someone who loves and is a big fan of the first one, and then also as kind of a standalone thing. I mean, it is a sequel, so keep that in mind as well, but I think that this is definitely targeting people who are more of a fan of the first one and kind of like myself that sees that as one of their favorite comedy movies. So as a whole, was it good? Yes. It was definitely a good, enjoyable comedy movie. I had a blast with it. I found myself laughing quite a bit. With that being said, it's a case, if you didn't like the first movie, I don't think you're going to like this one. And that's because a lot of the same humor is the same. A lot of the same, like pretty much the character traits you would expect still stick out. Same character traits, they stuck true to that, so they didn't diverge from their original formula or thoughts or anything, which is good, in my opinion. But with that being said, you know, if you didn't like the first one, you didn't like the kind of humor they were going for, I don't think you're going to like this one. But it was pretty good. They did a lot of callbacks to the first movie. A lot of, it almost kind of like repeat joke syndrome. But they didn't necessarily repeat the exact same joke, but they would call back to it. Like one example being, I believe this was in a trailer, so it's not really a spoiler, but one example being, Favre is a leader of cola thing. That doesn't, it gets kind of called back to. They don't do the whole same bit where he's like, I just wanted my damn liter of cola or anything, but like someone's like, would you like a liter of cola? And he's just like, excuse me? Like stuff like that. Like that's just like a little callback, kind of a nod, or they make a callback to like the car ramrod thing. So little callbacks like that, which I think were appreciated because at this point, the first Super Troopers movie came out so long ago. I think those little wink and nods are kind of to be expected. They didn't detract from the film. It's not like it was just a film that was fully just referencing the first one and calling back to that, and wasn't able to stand on its own or anything like that. As for the plot and everything, I did feel like the plot kind of followed a lot of the same beats of the original. Like the overall tone and arc of the film, I feel like was kind of expected. Again, I'm going to try to keep this from the two different perspectives. I know I'm speaking a lot about comparing it to the first, but if you haven't seen the first, pretty much just expect a good, fun, stupid, dopey comedy movie. It's dumb. It's got fart jokes. It's got slapstick. It's got jokes about drugs and stuff in there. Pretty much everything you would expect from that. Now, what I can see as a potential criticism for some people, it's not really criticism for myself, but I mean, it's something worth mentioning since we're, I guess, kind of in the day of political correctness. Well, not kind of, but we are. But if you're not aware, the plot does involve them getting involved with Canada. They're on the Canadian-US border, and so there's a lot of interactions with Canadians, and so as a result, a lot of the movie's humor comes from making fun of Canada, or Canadians making fun of the U.S., but more often than not, it's the U.S. making fun of Canada. So for some, I think that's going to be kind of a turnoff, especially if, say, you're Canadian and you're offended by that kind of stuff. It is all, of course, supposed to be good humor, making fun of people like... at one point they make fun of Americans for saying sorry, whereas the Americans at one point make fun of the Canadians for saying sorry. So it's kind of like... They do try to balance it out, but it tends to be, because of course the main cast and characters, they are the American side, it tends to be more often than not poking fun at the Canadians. And so that's going to turn some people off. But, I mean, in my opinion, like, I'm not one to get offended by that kind of stuff, especially since I'm not Canadian. But with that being said, I do feel like they kind of drug that out a bit too much. Like, there was a whole lot of, okay, it's just another Canadian joke. Like, pretty much every joke about being, a stereotypical joke about being Canadian you could think of, they probably poke fun at some point in the movie. So, overall, when it comes to these reviews, I don't want to do like any sort of point scales or anything like that, you know, because it's like, how does this one movie compare to this one? Well, it had a higher score. Does that mean it's better? That kind of stuff. Well, yeah, I'm going to look at it is if I recommend seeing the movie or not, or how many times I would recommend buying it or not, because it's something that you would want to see over and over and over. So I want to rate this one in those two categories again, as someone who loves the first film and as someone who has not seen the first one, because standalone and everything as well, even though it is a sequel. So if you're a big fan of the first Super Troopers movie, love it, you watch it all the time, you laugh at it every single time, I think that this movie is one that you should definitely buy, and you'll watch over and over and over and have the same amount of fun that you had with the first one. Now, standalone, if you're not someone who's a huge fan of the first movie, I think you could watch this one without watching the first one, excuse me. You're going to miss a lot of the callbacks and references and things like that, sure, but I don't think that'll necessarily detract from the humor that is there. So that being said, if you're not a huge super fan of the first movie, maybe you enjoyed it, maybe you didn't see it, I think that this movie is worth a watch. I wouldn't necessarily go out of my way to see it and saying that, oh, this is one of the best comedies I've seen in years, you need to go check it out and watch it immediately. But like, if something comes up, you know, it's on Netflix or something one day, you don't have anything better to do with your time, and you're like, yeah, sure, I'll check it out. By all means, I'd say it's worth at least one watch. So that's my opinion. If you love the first, you're going to love the second. If you've not seen the first or not a big fan of it, you'll probably think it's all right and enjoy watching it the one time and then walk away and be like, all right, well, I enjoyed that movie. So anyway, I hope that this was a pretty cohesive, good review for you guys. I'm looking forward to doing some more here. I'm trying to keep my thoughts constrained. I'm sure I'll be able to better improve and streamline this formula as time goes on. But I hope you like it. Please leave any sort of constructive criticism if you'd like. Please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel if you can. That obviously really helps me out. I love you guys. Share this video everywhere if you can. You guys are the best. I hope you guys have an amazing day because you deserve it.